twisted new season of The Traitors is finally here.
What did I get myself into?
The prize, $250,000.
I'm gonna lie and cheat and do whatever I have to do to win.
If you're gonna come for me, I'll finish you.
Shame on you!
I'm out for blood.
It is like a firing squad. Boom, 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 boom.
Let the games begin. Emmy Award winner The Traitors. New episodes streaming Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Only on Peacock.
British Spy Stories Season 6 Counter-Strike Episode 2. Gabby spends the next morning in the communications room of Delta 6, the MI6 safe house, on Spoestraat in central Amsterdam, that had been prepared to shelter Orlov before his kidnapping. It is only a 2-minute walk from the site of the attack, and Agent Talgarth, who had been unconscious after the fight, was carried up to Delta 6 by the 2 injured agents, who had been in the SUV with them. Fire tenders had arrived within 10 minutes to quench the flames from the burning Mercedes, and Gabby had called London Central Control to report the kidnapping of Orlov and ask them to liaise with the Dutch authorities to suppress any investigation of the van bombing. Sir Bernard calls an urgent meeting with Gabby and everyone manning the Carnforth Special Operations Room in London to explore every detail of what happened at dawn this morning. The satellite feeds of the attack are pored over with a fine tooth comb. Every vehicle movement is checked and double-checked to see where the weaknesses had been. One key mistake is discovered. The Mercedes that exploded was in the maintenance garage, immediately before being allocated to be part of the convoy from the airport. When the CCTV footage from the garage is played over the video link, one of the maintenance engineers can be seen spending far too long under the vehicle. Calls are made and the man is arrested by the Dutch police. He confesses that his family was threatened to make him plant the bomb. The more uncomfortable finding is that the MI6 plans to move Orlov must have been leaked. David Averill, head of MI6 Dutch station, immediately leaves to detain and question everyone who had been in the processing centre at Schiphol Airport when the Russian came through in the middle of the night. Talgarth appears at the door to the comms room with 2 mugs of coffee as the video call ends. "How are you feeling?" says Gabby. Talgarth nods. "Bruised, but I've had worse." "You were unlucky." "What happens now?" says Talgarth. "The tracker that we injected into Orlov's arm at the airport was disabled an hour ago. GCHQ are busy trying other ways to locate him." "Won't the kidnappers just kill him?" says Talgarth. "If the Russians found out about the plans, they'd just shut him up, wouldn't they?" "They didn't kill him when they attacked, so there's a reason they kept him alive. Usually senior spies have some insurance mechanism. Sensitive information that will be released online automatically, unless he manually and personally stops it in some way." Talgarth drinks some coffee. "Orlov will have a huge range of knowledge because of his senior role in the SVR and his career over many years," says Gabby. "If he's been collecting material to protect himself, that can be a goldmine for us too." "What did he say he wanted when you talked to him in the plane?" "Like every traitor, he wanted to trade his freedom for information, but for as little information as possible, so he's always got something up his sleeve if things go wrong later or if he's snatched back by the Russians." "What do you mean, if he's snatched back? Haven't they just done that?" "We don't know who the attackers were," says Gabby. "They weren't using Russian weapons. The knives were CACs, which are French. The guns were Glocks, and they're Austrian. Neither is commonly used by the Russians." "Who else could it have been?" "Anyone with a vested interest or someone who can use him to their advantage. Nothing is as it seems in espionage, Ivy." He very readily gave me this key. She holds up the locker key with 17 on it. The reason for that isn't clear. He said it was so we can see a sample of the X-ray scans? Maybe, says Gabby. The scans may be real or maybe a trap. Something doesn't add up. Like I said to him as we flew from Dover, he doesn't need the scans to gain his freedom. So why talk about them? He said he wanted money for them. Maybe that's true, or again, it could be a trap in some way. What's our next step? Says Telgarth. We'll leave here in an hour to fly to Berlin. I'll pick up my car and we'll drive to the Czech Republic. Then we'll find out what's in the locker. The clock on the dashboard of Inessa Orlova's silver Aurus Commandant SUV shows that there's 5 minutes to go before the end of lessons today in the Lomonosov school on the outskirts of Moscow. She has only picked up her children from here a few times before. Normally the chauffeur does that job. But today, she told him that she would drive here herself, and that he was to stay in their home in central Moscow. Inessa pushes her blonde hair away from her face, and her grey eyes squint slightly as she looks out to the school gates for any signs of her family. She had insisted with Alexei that the children go to this school to give them the necessary grounding for the privileged life they are destined for. As a well-connected man in the Russian government, Alexei had been a good choice of husband for her. Her mother had always told her that marriage isn't a love match, but a strategic move to gain the best position you can. Her mother had approved of Alexei, but she'll be angry now that she finds out what has happened. She can see her dark-haired children emerge from the school and walk towards her. The car door opens and the 16-year-old Lydia throws her bag into the footwell, just beating her brother to the front seat, who sits behind them. "How was school?" says the mother. The daughter doesn't answer as she is on her phone. "Only 1 week to go, Mama," says Maxime. "Then university in the autumn." "I've got some news," she says, and waits for her daughter to look up. "Lydia." "What?" She looks at each of them and their expectant eyes. "We're going away." Lydia screws up her nose. "We're going now. Driving to Prague." "What you talking about, Mama?" says the girl. "Your bags are in the back. We'll be meeting Papa there." "You lost me, Mama. I'm not going anywhere." "We'll be on the road for 24 hours. "Mama, look at me," says Lydia, putting her hand on her mother's face. "What has happened?" The mother looks sad before she says, "Papa's gone." "He's left you?" says Lydia. "He's gone to England." "You just said he's in Prague." "He'll meet us there," says Inessa. "What do you mean he's gone to England?" Lydia is getting more frustrated. "He's on a business trip, isn't he? Like he always is, selling his technology stuff or whatever he does." "He works for the government." Her daughter's eyes continue to be a mixture of confused and angry. Inessa sighs. "He's in the security services. We couldn't tell you." "Papa's a spy." "We couldn't tell you," she repeats. "Why are you telling us now, Mama?" says Maxime. "Has he gone to England, and he's not coming back?" The mother's eyes are watery. "Mama, it's okay," says Lydia. "He's defected, hasn't he?" Maxime's voice has hardened from the back seat. His mother looks at him in the rear view mirror. "What's that mean?" says Lydia. "He's a traitor." "Is he, Mama? Is that what he's done? Sold himself?" A solitary tear runs down Inessa's cheek. "They were going to kill him if he'd stayed." "Because?" "He talked to someone, a woman. He told her things he shouldn't have." "Was he fucking her, Mama?" "Lydia!" "Was he?" the daughter's eyes showing realization. He fucked some woman and talked and now he's run. Is that it? Is that what Papa's done? The moral, upstanding, judgmental father of ours? Don't be hard on him, Liddy. I'm not going to Prague or anywhere, Mama. Lydia reaches for her school bag at her feet and pulls the door handle with her other hand. They'll kill you. Inessa's voice rises in the air. Her daughter stops with one leg ready to step outside. Then her mother is quieter. They'll kill us all if we stay. Lydia looks at her mother, then turns and looks at her brother. We can come back one day, he says to his sister. Nothing ends, Liddy. For 5 seconds the daughter doesn't move, half in and half out of the car, in a no-man's land. Then she pulls the door shut, and Inessa starts the engine. They cross the border into Belarus at Krasnaya Gorka, as the sun starts to set on the horizon ahead of them. The children eat the food that their mother packed. Then they sleep, but Inessa drives on in the darkness. She gets fuel in the middle of the night, at a deserted petrol station just inside Poland, then has to stop and sleep for half an hour, near dawn. They drive on past Katowice, Ostrava and Bernau, before starting the long, dead-flat drive north, on the E50 highway, to Czechia's ancient capital city. The silver SUV finally comes to a halt outside a large house in the central and upmarket Smichov district. The building is a white rectangle with a red roof and a central courtyard. The grounds are surrounded by the Kinsky Gardens on the lower slopes of the Pietrin Hill, with views of the Vltava River that cuts through the heart of Prague. There's been little conversation on the 24-hour journey, despite all three of the Orlov family wanting more than anything to talk. As they step out into the driveway, the front door opens and a young woman wearing all black walks out to them. She is slight, with clear dark eyes and brown hair worn in a ponytail. I'm Veronica, madam, she says in Russian. I'm your housekeeper. Lydia guesses her age to be late 20s and wonders if this is the woman who her father slept with. Inessa introduces the children, and Veronica insists on them all leaving their bags in the car, as Samuel will bring them in later. But she doesn't explain who he is. The place has 8 rooms, and Veronica has made up 3 of the beds for them on the sunny side of the property. Food is laid out on a vast round table that can seat 12. They start to eat, and the sun streams in through the enormous bay windows that look out to the gardens. When they are alone, Lydia can't wait any longer to ask the question that's inside her head. What's going to happen to us, Mama? Is this our house now? What about my friends? Will I ever see them again? We're safe here, Lydia. That's all I know. That's all Papa said to me. Will he be here? Yes, he'll be here. When? We'll just have to wait. Can I go to town? Not on your own, says Inessa. Lydia looks across at her brother. Stay here today, both of you. You'll need to rest. Then we'll go tomorrow. I'm not staying cooped up in here because Papa's a traitor. It's a beautiful July day in Wiltshire, as Captain Tom Beecham drives in through the gates of Tidworth Camp, the home of the British Army's Royal Tank Regiment. Today marks 3 years since Tom walked through these gates for the first time. Since then, he has led exercises on Salisbury Plain to recreate attack formations that would be used in battle. He's been trained in tank warfare strategies, and he's been part of the officers' group as they have trained and led their soldiers. What his commanding officers don't know is that 32 years ago in a poor suburb of Moscow, Tom Beecham was born with the name Dmitry Belyakov. His father was already absent by the time Dmitry had found his mother's lifeless body on an August morning in their flat on Zelenogradskaya Street. The boy had been sent to the Moscow Orphanage No. 1, which at the time was badly organized and poorly funded. But it taught him how to fight for what he thought was important. When he was 16, a kind-looking man in his 60s had visited the orphanage and taken away Dmitry and 4 other boys in his large grey car that afternoon. The boys were given beds in an ex-KGB building on a quiet Moscow side street called Maly Ivanovsky Pereulok, near the centre of the city, and only 20 minutes from the Kremlin. The old man was called Colonel Golovkin, and he became a father figure for the 5 boys. The colonel had rooms at the end of the corridor where their dormitory was, and they would all eat together in a large, bright dining room on the southern side of the building, with the housekeeper, Mrs. Romanova. Every day at 9, the boys started their lessons, taught by an array of different people whom the colonel personally knew. In the first year, Dmitry and his peers were taught mathematics, biology, and art. In the second year, the boys were told that each of them would be taught in one of the key European languages. Dmitry's lessons were in English, and from then on, he followed the British education examination system. A woman from the Russian State Opera taught them about pronunciation until they each sounded like native speakers of their allocated Western European countries. 2.5 years after arriving, the boys finished their time with the colonel, and the old man organized a ceremony for their last day. "Dmitry," he had said, "take this." The man handed him a British passport. Dmitry had opened it and read the name Tom Beecham for the first time. "You are Tom now. Dmitry no longer exists. You have a place at Oxford, starting in September to study history and politics." Golovkin had turned to a set of suitcases piled up on a side table and picked up one of them. "Take this. Inside it are photographs and souvenirs of the childhood that you would have spent in England if Tom had been real." After the ceremony, the colonel had talked to each boy separately, with more details about the job that they now had as sleeper spies for Russia. Dmitry has not forgotten the words that the colonel said to him as he finished. "Remember Russia when you are deep inside England. But when the time comes for you to act, we'll contact you. Until then, live your life as Tom Beecham." A week later, Tom moved into a rented flat in Shoreditch, having memorized his life story on the journey from Moscow. He went up to Balliol College in Oxford that autumn and spent 3 years being an Englishman before going to Sandhurst to be trained as an army officer. He had married Lara when they were both 29, and they had rented flats until they bought the cottage in Salisbury's Trinity Street last summer. "Captain Beecham." It's a voice he knows. He turns and salutes Major Davis. "Tom, briefing at 1500 hours. What's it about, sir?" "New hardware talk from that female major in DI." He refers to the Defence Intelligence Corps within the British Armed Services. "The Russians have got some new battle tank plan. She's going to brief us." The meeting room in the main building of Tidworth Camp has 20 chairs laid out in classroom style. As Tom arrives at 3 p.m, Major Carol Jardine from DI talks about the latest information they have on a new Russian tank, which DI have code-named the R-17 for a reason that escapes Tom. He drives out of the gates of Tidworth at 6. He changes out of uniform and pours himself a gin. Lara is out with her girlfriends for a drink after work, so he'll buy a curry from the place on the corner in a while. He sits on the back patio in the warmth of the sun. Tom's not sure if he hears the first knock on the door, but he does hear the second one. When he opens it, he sees a man he doesn't know. "Can I come in?" "Sorry, who are you?" says Tom. The man smiles. "It's time to talk, Dmitri."